I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white turtle doves.
Chocolate is
Scrunches when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch.
Saturday mornings once pulsed with cartoon color, the living room glow tethered families to a world of 3 channels and rabbit ear rituals, now silenced by time. Over 90% of households shared these rhythms, with eager hands waiting for Polaroids to bloom and the hum of Super 8 projectors turning memories tangible. But as letters, television rituals, and tactile keepsakes faded, we lost more than objects. We lost the gentle pace and shared wonder of an entire era. Why did these everyday joys slip away? And what hidden threads connect these vanished memories to who we are now? Evenings in the 1970s settled into a gentle hush, broken only by the soft click of a dial and the warm glow blooming from a box in the corner of the living room. In 9 out of 10 homes, television wasn't just background noise. It was the hearth, the pulse that drew families together. The world outside faded as parents adjusted rabbit ear antennas, twisting them with practiced hands, searching for that sweet spot where the picture cleared and the static faded. Sometimes a child stood by, holding a foil-tipped antenna just so, arm tingling, because for a moment you were part of the circuit, part of the magic that made the picture appear. 3 channels, no more. The choices were simple, yet they felt enormous. The entire country seemed to move in sync. Primetime was a national appointment, sitcoms and dramas flowing into living rooms from coast to coast. News anchors became evening companions, their voices steady and familiar, shaping the rhythm of the night. Shows didn't wait for you, you waited for them. Missed the start, and you missed it all. There was no pause, no rewind, only the soft tick of the wall clock and the anticipation of what came next. Saturday mornings belonged to cartoons, but the rest of the week television was a family ritual. The set was furniture, heavy and warm, its wood veneer polished by countless hands. Children sprawled on shag rugs, parents sank into corduroy sofas, everyone drawn by the same flickering light. The rabbit ear ritual was its own choreography, sometimes a coat hanger or a bit of aluminum foil pressed into service, a makeshift fix for a picture that ghosted or danced with snow. The room would hold its breath as the image snapped into focus, and for a moment, the world outside the window felt far away. Appointment television shaped the day's pace. Dinner was served before the evening news, homework finished before the movie of the week. The schedule was set not by personal whim, but by the network's clock, a structure that quietly tethered millions of lives together. There was comfort in the sameness, knowing that friends, neighbors, even strangers across the country were watching the same story unfold, laughing at the same jokes, waiting for the same cliffhangers. The boundaries of the day were drawn in cathode ray glow, and the living room became a space where time slowed, where the outside world could be held at bay for just a little while longer. In these rooms, the television's glow was more than light. It was a gathering point, a shared language, a silent agreement to pause and be present. The act of watching was communal, even sacred, a parent's silhouette against the screen, a child's face lit with wonder, the quiet hum of the set blending with the soft sounds of evening. This was how memories formed, not in grand gestures, but in the gentle repetition of small rituals, the warmth of family gathered close, the world narrowed to a single room and a single story. When the set finally clicked off, the glow lingered in the air, and the hush returned, soft and complete. A child sits cross-legged on the orange shag rug, clutching a Polaroid SX70. The room is quiet except for the faint tick of the wall clock, the air thick with anticipation. The camera, new and impossibly sleek, cost nearly $180, more than a week's pay for some. Each pack of film, 10 shots for $6.90, feels precious. The shutter clicks, and a blank square slides out, cool and damp, its surface hiding a secret. The child's breath fogs above the developing photo, a silent plea for magic. 60 seconds is forever. Fingers drum on the coffee table. Slowly, colors begin to bleed through, shapes harden, and suddenly there it is, a face, a birthday cake, a moment that just happened and is already slipping away. Polaroids were never truly instant, not in the way we think of now. The waiting was part of the ritual, a minute-long ceremony where hope and chemistry mingled in the palm of a hand. Sometimes the image would bloom strong and clear, other times it would fade, a ghost of what was meant to last. Each print was fragile, edges curling if left in the sun, colors shifting with time. Yet they filled kitchen drawers and wallet sleeves, were taped to mirrors, and were tucked inside letters sent to cousins in other states. These were memories you could hold, pass around, lose, and find again years later, corners soft and stories half remembered. Down the hall, another kind of memory waited in darkness. The Super 8 projector, heavy and humming, turned living rooms into theaters. Reels snapped onto spindles. Someone flicked the light switch, and the room filled with the whir of gears and the faint smell of warm plastic. On the wall, scenes flickered. Backyard barbecues, summer road trips, a wobbly parade of faces and places. There was no sound, only laughter, and the occasional gasp as a forgotten moment reappeared, larger than life. Watching meant gathering close, knees touching, popcorn bowls passed from hand to hand. The film would run out, the screen would go white, and for a heartbeat, no one moved. These rituals stitched families together, binding memory and habit. The Polaroid's quick reward, the projector's slow reveal. Each asked for patience, for attention. There was a cost to every click, a weight to every frame. People saved their shots for birthdays, holidays, the first snow, the last day of school. Some moments made it onto film. Most lived only in memory. Stories told and retold at dinner tables or scribbled in letters. Handwriting was its own kind of photograph. Postcards from Niagara Falls, letters with careful loops and smudged ink, took days to arrive. The mailman's footsteps on the porch signaled possibility, a cousin's joke, a grandparent's advice, news from far away. Envelopes were opened slowly, their contents read and reread, then tucked into shoeboxes or slipped between book pages. The wait was part of the pleasure. Words traveled at the speed of hope, and the distance between sender and receiver was measured in days, not seconds. In the 1970s, memory was something you made with your hands. You pressed the shutter, you threaded the reel, you licked the envelope. Each act left a trace, chemical, mechanical, personal. The world was slow, but the moments felt heavier, as if the waiting itself gave them weight. Even now, decades later, a faded Polaroid or a strip of silent film can summon the hush of a living room. The hush before the image appears. The hush after the last frame flickers out. And you? What's the one small moment from the 1970s you wish you could step back into for just one day? The road was its own kind of promise, stretching out in slow, sun-dappled miles, lined by the steady thrum of tires and the faint scent of vinyl and warm upholstery. In the 1970s, the family station wagon was more than a car. It was a rolling room, paneled in imitation wood and packed with siblings, snacks, and the soft anticipation of somewhere else. Over 1 million wagons sold each year at the start of the decade, each one a vessel for summer vacations, school runs, and the endless loops of suburbia. The back seat was a territory all its own, a place where a child could press their cheek against cool glass, tracing passing clouds with a fingertip, the world outside slipping by in a blur of green and gold. Between the front seats, an 8-track player clicked to life. The cartridge slid in with a satisfying chunk, and a familiar album filled the air, not song by song, but in 4 distinct programs, each one separated by a mechanical pause, a sudden silence, then a new track. There was no skipping ahead, no shuffling. The music came as it was, whole and unhurried, the tape sometimes warbling on hot days or looping back without warning. Parents and kids alike learned the quirks, the hiss of the tape, the thump as it changed tracks, the way a favorite song might fade out mid-chorus only to reappear a moment later. 40 million 8-track cartridges sold each year at the format's height, their chunky plastic shells stuffed in glove compartments and door pockets, each one a soundtrack for the open road. A CB radio perched on the dash, its coiled cords stretching like a lifeline. At first it was just for truckers, then suddenly everyone wanted one. Handles were chosen with care, names like Roadrunner, Bluebird, Night Owl. The etiquette was its own language, spoken in code and crackle, punctuated by bursts of static and the squawk of the microphone. Channel 19 was where the real action was, a rolling conversation that spanned states and time zones, strangers sharing road conditions, warning of smokies up ahead, or just trading jokes as the miles slipped past. 20 million CB radios found their way into cars and homes by 1976, turning the highway into one long shared story. In the backseat, a child watched telephone poles rise and fall in steady rhythm, the world outside framed by the wagon's wide rear window. Sometimes the tailgate would drop for a picnic at a rest stop, where the whole family would pile out to stretch their legs, but always the car called them back, its bench seats and musty blankets, the clatter of board games and the sweet stickiness of spilled soda. The wagon was a moving stage, a place for arguments and alliances, for quiet naps and wild laughter, for the kind of boredom that gave way to daydreams. The journey itself became an event. The click of the 8-track, the squawk of the CB radio, the endless ribbon of highway. These were the notes in a symphony of motion. The road was long, but time felt generous, measured not in minutes but in songs played, stories shared, and the slow approach of headlights in the dusk. Arrival was always on the horizon, but for a while the only thing that mattered was the feeling of being together, moving forward, the world outside blurring into memory through the glass. And you, what is the one small moment from the 1970s you wish you could step back into for just one day? Neon spilled across parking lots and sidewalks, pulling people toward the places where the night truly began. At the edge of town, the drive-in theater flickered to life. Cars rolled in, engines idling low, headlights dipping as families and couples claimed their patch of gravel beneath the vast open screen. The ritual was always the same. Windows rolled down, a metal speaker lifted from its post and hooked onto the door, the voice of the movie crackling through tinny cones. Popcorn buckets passed from hand to hand, a chorus of laughter and whispers rising as the first reel danced across the night. The air smelled like grass and exhaust, 100 radios humming the same story in the dark. For a few hours, the outside world shrank to the size of a windshield, and the only thing that mattered was the glow on the faces inside each car. Closer to the heart of town, the roller rink pulsed with its own gravity. You could hear it before you saw it. The thump of bass, the whir of wheels, the echo of voices bouncing off polished wood. Inside, the mirror ball spun slow and steady, scattering points of light across the floor and the crowd. Teenagers circled in loose packs, hands brushing, hair feathered and shining in the colored beams. The DJ's booth rose above it all, a command center for the night's soundtrack, disco, rock, the latest chart toppers. Rental skates thumped against benches, laces tugged tight, the air thick with the sweet tang of sweat and anticipation. Every lap was a chance to be noticed, every stumble a lesson in letting go. The rink was where confidence was tried on like a jacket, sometimes a perfect fit, sometimes a little too big, but always worth the risk. Down the strip, the arcade was a kingdom of quarters and colored lights. Rows of pinball machines flashed and chimed, their glass tops glowing with painted heroes and wild designs. The clang of flippers, the sharp ring of a new high score, the hush as someone's initials claimed the leaderboard. These were badges of honor, proof that you belonged. Early video games blinked in the shadows, their screens drawing crowds of kids eager to master the next challenge. The air buzzed with friendly rivalry and the faint smell of solder and ozone, a world built from small victories and the promise of another game. Here, a pocket full of change could buy an hour of glory or the thrill of watching someone else take their shot. When the hunger hit, the diner waited, bright and constant under its chrome and glass. Vinyl booths welcomed groups of friends and lone dreamers alike, the tables crowded with fries, milkshakes, and the clatter of plates. In the corner, the jukebox glowed, a shrine of colored buttons and spinning records. For a quarter, sometimes two, you could fill the room with your favorite song. The ritual was simple. Scan the titles, drop in your coins, and wait for the first notes to cut through the chatter. Each selection was a small act of courage, a way to say, "This is who I am, listen." The diner and the jukebox helped you say it out loud. A teenager leans against the jukebox, coins in hand, eyes scanning the choices. Maybe it's the latest hit, maybe an old favorite, maybe something to impress the booth across the aisle. The music starts, and for a moment, all the noise and neon, the laughter and longing, swirl together. The diner becomes a stage, the night a promise. The song plays on, and everyone listens, together and alone, each person's story folding into the hum of the room. The promise feels simple and immense at once. These were the places where taste was tested and friendships forged, where the brave and the shy mingled under mirrored lights and movie screens. The drive-in, the rink, the arcade, the diner, each one a living room for a different kind of family, each one a memory stamped in quarters, tickets, and the ache of feet that never quite wanted to go home. The night lit up, and for a little while, the world felt bigger and kinder, full of possibility and the hope that tomorrow would bring another chance to step into the glow. And you, what's the one small moment from the 1970s you wish you could step back into for just one day? Desire in the 1970s grew slowly, shaped by the ritual of turning catalog pages, circling a stereo or a toy in blue ink, and hoping it might arrive by Christmas. The Sears wish book, thick and heavy, landed on kitchen tables each fall. Children sprawled on the carpet, pencils in hand, tracing dreams across glossy spreads. The catalog stayed open for weeks, its corners softening, every wish rehearsed and revised. Orders went in by mail or by phone, then the waiting began. 2 weeks, sometimes 4, before a brown box appeared on the porch, contents already legendary from anticipation. There was no tracking number, no overnight shipping, just the slow build of hope, the sweetness of finally holding what you had longed for. In kitchens across the country, S and H green stamps collected in drawers and jars. Each trip to the grocery store meant another handful, each one with a sticky back and a faint smell of glue. On quiet afternoons, families gathered at the table, peeling stamps from their sheets, pressing them into booklets with careful thumbs. The reward catalog became its own kind of wish book, a toaster, a set of glasses, maybe a badminton set for the backyard. Redemption meant a trip to the green stamp store, the clerk counting your booklets with the seriousness of a banker. The toaster felt different than one bought with cash. It was a prize, earned through patience and the slow gathering of small efforts. Music discovery moved at a similar pace. Before playlists and streaming, there was the record store, a sanctuary of cardboard sleeves and handwritten signs, the air thick with anticipation. The clerk behind the counter was a guide, a gatekeeper, sometimes a confessor. You saved your allowance, counted your bills, and stepped up to ask for the new album, trusting the clerk's nod or raised eyebrow. Sometimes you got a quiet tip. Check this one out. It is not on the radio yet. Listening booths lined the back wall, small sanctuaries with battered headphones and the faint smell of vinyl. You slipped a record from its sleeve, lowered the needle, and waited for the first notes to crackle through. The choice was final. Every record a commitment, an investment in taste and identity. There was no skipping tracks, no instant shuffle, just the slow reveal of side A, then the flip to side B, each song a discovery. Outside, the radio kept the city humming. M-disc jockeys spun stories as much as records, their voices as familiar as a neighbor's. Every town had its own legends, the men and women who set the tone for Friday nights and Saturday mornings. Requests were called in, dedications made, the static and hum of the airwaves mixing with the music. The disc jockey might read your letter on the air or send a shout-out to your school, making you feel seen in a world that often felt enormous. The music came with local news, weather, gossip, a soundtrack to daily life, curated by someone who knew your streets and seasons. Waiting was woven into every part of the experience. The record you ordered might take weeks to arrive. The song you loved might play once a day if you were lucky. The green stamps piled up slowly. The catalog circled and recircled as you weighed each choice. In the rhythm of these rituals, patience became its own reward. There was joy in the longing, in the slow build toward satisfaction. Every acquisition, an album, a toaster, a toy, carried the memory of waiting, of hoping, of the small daily acts that made the moment of arrival feel like a miracle. The day stretched long in 1974, and sometimes the only thing to do was wait. On the corner, a full-service gas station hummed with its own quiet rhythm. The bell chimed as each car rolled over the rubber hose, and an attendant in a blue shirt stepped out, wiping his hands on a rag, his name stitched in red thread above the pocket. He would greet you with a nod, lift the heavy nozzle, and ask, "Fill it up?" There was a ritual to it. He would check the oil, maybe the tires, and always swipe the windshield clean with a practiced flick of the wrist. The scent of gasoline hung in the air, sharp and sweet, mingling with the low rumble of engines and the click of the pump's spinning numbers. There were days when the line of cars snaked around the block, especially during the oil embargo. People sat behind the wheel, windows down, radios murmuring, trading stories with strangers through open doors. Some waited hours for a few precious gallons, passing the time with small talk or silence, the world outside the car moving at a different speed. Across the street, a payphone stood sentry, metal and cool to the touch, coins heavy in the palm. A call cost a dime, then a quarter, the price rising with the years. The rotary dial spun with a satisfying whir, each number clicking into place. Kids would race to the booth after school, pockets jangling, rehearsing what they would say. Everyone knew the tricks. The ring once signaled to let someone know you had arrived, the quick hang-up to dodge a long-distance charge. The booth offered a strange kind of privacy, half seen through glass, voices muffled by the hum of traffic and the wind. It was a place for whispered secrets, urgent plans, and the simple thrill of hearing a friend's voice from across town. Even the sound of the phone itself, a sudden brash ring, could make hearts leap, a small eruption of possibility in the middle of an ordinary day. Inside the mall, time slowed even more. The air was cool and bright, echoing with footsteps and laughter, the scent of popcorn and soft pretzels drifting from the food court. At the center, fountains burbled over polished stone, their spray catching the light and drawing people like a magnet. Teenagers lounged on the edge, legs dangling, sharing sodas and secrets. Parents rested their shopping bags, watching children toss pennies into the water, each wish a private hope. The fountain was more than decoration. It was a meeting place, a landmark, a stage for the small dramas of everyday life. Friends found each other there, couples held hands, and strangers shared benches without speaking. The sound of water masked awkward silences, turning the mall's heart into a gentle communal hush. That public space felt intimate and safe. Waiting was everywhere, woven into the fabric of daily life. At the pump, by the payphone, around the fountain, each pause became a moment to notice the world, to meet a neighbor's eye, to linger in conversation that might have otherwise been missed. Even impatience felt different, softened by the sense that everyone was in it together. The world moved at the speed of people, not machines, and the spaces in between, the lines, the lulls, the long afternoons, became the places where memories settled, quietly, like dust in sunlight. And you, what is the one small moment from the 1970s you wish you could step back into for just one day? A teacher's hands, steady from years of practice, thread a film strip through the humming projector. The room dims, shades drawn against the afternoon sun, and a hush settles as the first frame clicks into place. There is a promise in that mechanical whir, a promise of escape, of stories flickering frame by frame across the pull-down screen. Children lean forward, chins in palms, the air thick with the scent of waxed floors and pencil shavings. Each beep signals a new image, explorers, animals, a map of distant lands. The world narrows to a circle of light and the patient shuffle of slides. Then the lights snap on and the spell breaks. Desks creak as bodies stir and someone passes out fresh mimeograph worksheets, paper still warm, edges soft, ink staining fingertips a gentle purple. The smell is unmistakable, sharp and sweet, a perfume that clings to memory long after the lesson fades. For a moment, every child inhales deeply, savoring a scent that says, "You are here, you are young, you are part of this day." Answers fill the blanks, letters smudge beneath eager hands, and the work is done before the bell rings. Lunchboxes clang open in the hall, metal dented, decorated with heroes and cartoons. Batman, Wonder Woman, Snoopy, a parade of icons marching across cafeteria tables. Each box bears the marks of its owner, a sticker here, a scratch there, a name in careful marker on the inside lid. The thermos rattles, soup still hot, milk still cold, sandwiches wrapped in wax paper by hands that wake before sunrise. There's a quiet pride in what is packed, a secret in what is traded, a cookie for chips, a slice of apple for half a Twinkie. The lunch bell is a starting gun for stories, for laughter, for the clatter of forks and the scrape of benches on linoleum. Once the final bell sounds, the world tilts outward. Backpacks thump against small spines, and a pack of kids spills into the street, bikes waiting like loyal steeds. Tires hiss on pavement, spokes catch the sun, sneakers slap against pedals. There are no helmets, no phones, just the freedom of wind and the thrill of speed. Sidewalks blur, driveways become ramps, and the neighborhood opens like a map with no boundaries. The only rule is the streetlight. When it flickers on, it is time to go home. Until then, the evening belongs to the pack, their laughter trailing behind, tire tracks tracing loops of independence across the fading light. School and play blend at the edges, stitched together by the rituals of ink and metal, the scent of paper, the slap of cards and spokes. These were the rhythms that shaped a day, the hush of the projector, the rush of the ride, the slow drift of dusk as the first stars blinked awake above the rooftops. And you, what's the one small moment from the 1970s you wish you could step back into for just one day? Time in the 1970s moved like honey, slow and golden, stretching out across afternoons and evenings that never seemed to end. The day didn't rush to fill itself. It drifted, gathering meaning in pauses and silences. Waiting was everywhere, woven into the fabric of each moment. The world asked for patience, and people answered without complaint. A letter took days to arrive. A favorite song waited its turn on the radio. The next episode came only after a week of remembering and retelling. Even the smallest things required time. The minute-long hush as a Polaroid revealed itself, the gentle whir of a film strip projector, the click and hiss of a cassette rewinding. In every house, the echoes of footsteps and laughter lingered in the spaces between. The clock ticked on the wall, steady and unhurried, measuring life in seconds that felt full and round. Somewhere, a bike lay on its side in the grass, waiting for its rider to return after dinner. A payphone stood on the corner, silent except for the occasional ring, a promise of news or nothing at all. The world outside pressed in softly, filtered through curtains and the hum of distant traffic. There was a quiet choreography to the day, school bells and the shuffle of mimeograph worksheets, the metallic clatter of metal lunchboxes opening in the hall. The scent of mimeograph ink and peanut butter sandwiches hung in the air, as familiar as the sound of sneakers in the corridor. After school, the neighborhood unfolded like a secret map, sidewalks and lawns, driveways and ditches, all open until the streetlights blinked awake. The pack of kids on bikes, wild and free, looping through dusk with no destination but the slow approach of night. Inside, the house breathed with the slow rhythm of family life. Someone leafed through a Sears catalog, circling dreams in blue ink. Someone else pressed S&H green stamps into a booklet, the promise of a toaster or a blender shimmering just out of reach. The radio played softly in the kitchen, the AM radio DJ voice low and companionable, filling the spaces between chores and conversation. The pace of the era was its own kind of memory, a gentle drift, a spaciousness that left room for longing and for joy. Even impatience felt lighter, softened by the knowledge that everyone was waiting for something. The slow fade of the day, the slow fade of the decade, is what made each moment linger. What remains now is not just what happened, but how it felt. The hush before the picture appeared, the warmth of a hand in yours, the quiet certainty that there would always be time enough. In that slow, golden light, memory thickens and settles, holding the shape of the days when waiting was not a burden, but a gift. Nostalgia fills the gaps where everyday magic once lived. As digital life accelerates and neighborhoods grow quieter, the simple joys of shared experience slip further from reach. Yet longing for connection remains timeless. Memory is not just what we recall, but how we choose to shape tomorrow. We remember Saturday morning cartoons and kids playing until streetlights came on, wood-paneled station wagons idling by drive-in theaters, roller rinks spinning under mirrored lights, CB radios chattering across the neighborhood, 8-track tapes in record stores and AM radio disc jockeys on 3-channel television sets with rabbit ear antennas. Polaroid cameras and Super 8 home movies captured birthdays and backyard parades. Sears and Ward catalogs and S&H green stamps arrived at the mailbox. Full-service gas stations filled the cars. Letters and postcards and payphones kept voices tethered across distance. Arcades and pinball hummed. Malls with fountains held whole afternoons. 70s diners and jukeboxes served up evenings. School film strips and mimeograph worksheets smelled of classrooms. Metal lunchboxes swung from bicycle handlebars on slow neighborhood rides that tasted of sun and time. The slow, peaceful pace of the era folding into every memory. And you, what is the one small moment from the 1970s you wish you could step back into for just one day?